Okay, so good thing to discuss now that we see some of the tools and how they work, is what are you going to draw with? So you've got a bunch of options for mechanical drawing or instrument drawing. Of course, working with a wooden pencil, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you keep the tip sharp and you're aware of how hard the lead is. So all these different pencils, if we looked at the end, we'd see a number and a letter, or maybe just a letter. And the letter and the number describe the hardness of the lead. So your yellow number two pencil is probably an HB. If you look at the end of your yellow number two, you'd probably see HB on there, which is a medium lead. See, here is medium, and if we go to the right, we go to B, 2B, 3B, and the higher the number on the B, the softer the lead. The softer the lead, the darker the line. These pencils down here, 2B down to 9B, typically used in art classes for sketching because they're easy to go back in and smear. And sometimes we'd like to accomplish something like shading using a really soft pencil, like one of these B pencils. Not really that great for instrument drawing though, because we don't want our drawings to smear all over the place. Okay, so then we go back up to the HB, which is in the middle, and we go to the next row. It picks up with F, goes to H, and then 2H, and then 3H, and then goes down to 9H. So just like B was soft, H is hard. 2H is going to be much harder than your standard number two pencil. And one of the reasons that you'd want to do that is it's less likely to smear. There is not so much chance of the drawing getting smudged. The higher we go up to the right, well, the harder the lead, which means the lighter the line that comes out of it. So very dark lines on a 9B, super light lines on a 9H. And then typically we'd like to draw somewhere between HB and 2H for instrument drawing. So wood pencils are one option. You might have gotten a mechanical pencil, right, to work with, and that's cool. Mechanical pencils don't need to be sharpened. They are always the same exact sharpness. You don't have to sharpen them, so they don't get shorter and shorter and shorter until the little nubs, so they're always at a good, comfortable length to work with. Mechanical pencils come in different diameters for the lead. 0.3 is a very thin line. 0.5 is a standard line. 0.7 is a little bit heavier, and 0.9 is the heaviest line. And we look at the barrels, we can see they go from very skinny to much fatter. The fact that you don't have to sharpen the mechanical pencil is nice. What you also be aware of, though, is the lead, right? Because the lead might be a soft lead, which is going to give you a dark line, even though it's a skinny pencil. A lot of these mechanical pencils have a little window at the end here that you can actually turn, and if you look on the inside, you'll see the different lead grades. So when you buy lead and put it in your pencil, you want to rotate it and set it so that you know when you pick that pencil up what lead is inside that pencil. So mechanical pencils are kind of cool. A lead holder is another option for drawing, and these are kind of like old school engineering graphics. I remember this is my first drawing pencil in high school. I went to a technical school, and looks like a mechanical pencil, but it's got jaws on the end that pop out and hold a standard piece of lead. So standard is 2 millimeters. If we went to our wood pencil and we took away all the wood, we'd have a cylinder of lead about 2 millimeters in diameter. And that's what you get inside of this guy. So a lead holder holds a stick of lead, pretty fat. In order to sharpen it, you need a special tool. You need a lead pointer. This is a lead pointer. And it's not really a sharpener, it's just a pointer, right? And a lot of these mechanical pencils, a lot of these lead holders, if you look at the end on the little trigger that depresses and opens up the jaws, there's a hole. And that hole is also a pointer, so you can actually sharpen the pencil using the back of the depression back there. The other option for sharpening the lead on these things, pointing the lead, is this guy. This is another kind of lead pointer. Looks more like a mushroom. And then we've got a couple in the classroom that look like this, where they are bolted down to the desk, and then the same idea. It's a mechanism for pointing the lead. So in your toolkit, you got a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil, and of course that's got the standard little pencil lead in there. You also got a blue mechanical pencil, that's a 0.7 millimeter. So when you want a thinner line, we use the 0.5, and when we want a heavier line, we use the 0.7. I really prefer sometimes to draw with wood pencils. So again, here's some wood pencils, and again, the lead grade is marked on the end of the pencil, so it's easy to see what you're drawing with, how hard the lead is. There are some pencils that are special extra dark. This is a Ticonderoga black lead pencil. It's HB, so it's kind of a softish lead. It makes a really nice dark line. And then here is my lead holder. So if you take a look, I press this down and these jaws open up. See that? It's like a little monster and alien. I press the end, the jaws open, and this is a big fat stick of standard lead that goes in there. On my mechanical pencil, you see the window up here? Well, you're able to turn the pencil and look at the different lead grades. So what I would do is I would set this to whatever lead grade I was working with. So when I pick up the pencil, I know exactly how hard that lead is. So now another one of the tools in your toolkit is called a lettering guide. And a lettering guide will come in a little sleeve with some instructions. This is a lettering guide. It's a piece of acrylic that's got some holes milled in it and some engraving and etching on it. A little disc in the middle here spins around, held in place by some tension. And the basic idea of a lettering guide is when you are lettering, this guy could be your best friend in the world. So one of the things that we might use the lettering guide for is to make 1/8 inch spaces for guidelines. And here's how that works, right? So I've got my parallel bar right here, and I'm holding it down. And then I've got my lettering guide riding on top of it. And do you see all these little holes running up the side here? Well, the little holes are 1/8 of an inch apart, and that is the standard height for lettering on a technical drawing. So what we could do is we could stick the pencil in one of the holes and go across the paper. Then go in the next hole, go across the paper, and go into the next hole, and go across the paper, right? And what I'm doing is I'm laying down a bunch of evenly spaced parallel guidelines. And there's nothing to measure because we're just going at 1/8 inch increments. And I've got perfect spacing on my paper for my lettering. There's also a 90-degree edge here, a vertical edge. I tell people that if your lettering is garbage, you can always do this. You can always use the lettering guide for the vertical strokes on your letters. So like the letter T has a vertical stroke, and the letter R has a vertical stroke, right? So at least for the two vertical parts, you can use the edge of the lettering guide to make those strokes, right? And then anything that's diagonal or horizontal, you can freehand that. The idea is at least your vertical lines will be nice and straight and perfect. Okay, so that's one of the other uses for the lettering guide. There's an angle on the front here, and this angle is actually an angle for inclined letters. Sometimes, well, I guess back in the day when we would handprint stuff, we might want to incline the letters or italicize them, we call it now. So you can put light guidelines on your paper, and that would tell you, hey, this is the slope you want to apply to your lettering, right? That's the angle. There is a big check mark on the end here. This was a standard drawing symbol for engineering drawing. It's a finish symbol, surface finish. So it's a quick way to make those symbols. And then the disc is kind of cool. The disc has a bunch of settings around the outside edge and a bunch of increments along the outside here. And when we align the settings in the increments, what we can do is we can set up different spacing besides 1/8 inch. So maybe 1/8 inch is not your thing, right? Well, we can go in there and we can set up a whole bunch of different spacing at maybe 3/32 or 5/64. And we're not going to go incredibly deep into that because in this class we do everything an 1/8 inch apart. If you really want to know how to use this amazing little Swiss Army knife of technical drawing though, making slope lines, setting up the spacing, those are all part of the instructions that come with your lettering guide. Okay, so that's our lettering guide.